Wake up and smell the coffee, Mr. LaRusso.
Extreme situations require extreme measures.
Yeah, it's probably about it.
Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome back to Cobra Kai Karate. Welcome back to a brand new video. And guys, this is a very, very rough video to make. I just got done watching Cobra Kai for the last time in my life. At least for watching the Cobra Kai for the first time. And you guys know, you click on this video because you're all wondering. Let me guess, he's going to hate on it. Because everyone knows I hated part 1. I hated part 2. I hated the season. And I came out and publicly said I think this will be the worst part. Off things I saw, leaks, things I hear, and just what it was setting up to be. And but now that we've gotten closer, it's getting a lot more emotional that this truly is the end. I had my last network, I got my last live, and this is it. And reviewing this is gonna be very hard because I want everyone to know I want to love this more than anyone. And first thing I want to address is just number one. When I said this would be the worst part, I was wrong. It is by far not the worst part. It is, I would say, by far the best part. But does that mean it's good? We're going to get into all that. And doing this is so hard to review because I've just been thinking on how I can even review this. I don't even know what to do. I guess I'm just going to be honest. Because even when season 6 released, me and Evan are on backstage and I didn't even feel like watching it. It comes out at 2 a.m. Usually I'd rush to it. I just sat there in my chair for 10 minutes because I was like not prepared for this. But I watched it. And like I said, I don't know how to review this because there is great in this. There's good. There's alright. There's bad. And there is awful. And all of it comes to a conclusion of it doesn't matter. Because this part does not follow what we saw in part 1 and part 2. And does not follow what we saw in season 5. It feels like its own thing. And if its own thing is good or bad is irrelevant because it's a part of a whole entire complete season. So it's so hard for me to review this. So that's why for this part, I'll make it very clear. I'm reviewing this as just its part. As a part free. I'm going to make a full review for season 6 after. Maybe the next day. But I want to make that very clear for the first thing. So I didn't know how to get into this. We're just going to go by episode 11 to episode 15. Stuff I loved, stuff I didn't love, stuff I hated. And at the end, we're just going to give a full rating of it. So let's get into it. What was Cobra Kai Season 6 Part 3? The last batch of episodes ever. We start off with episode 11. And I want to say I do love this episode individually. The issue I had with this mainly, and it's like a lingering thing throughout the whole part and this episode individually, is that it feels like a whole new season from season 5. First thing we get a whole month time jump. A whole month. And I'm sorry, this just does not work as a show. You can't have, you set up a Saikai Taikai, and then Tori tells her mom dies, and then, she just goes off, and then there's a time jump to the Saikai Taikai. Then you have a kid die, and you have a whole month of the motions, the processes, everything that goes through. We just skip through that. Just click the skip button. And the issue is this even more. It doesn't even feel like it's a month. It feels like it's yesterday. We have people saying, about the Saikai. We have Kim saying about the Saikai Taikai. Like this has not been a month ago. We got Daniel LaRusso's is it her cousin, I think? Saying like, tell me about the Saikai Taikai. And it all feels like this is like right after. But it's been a month. I don't understand why there was a time jump to begin with. That's the first issue I had. I don't like these time jumps. It really splits up the season where it doesn't even feel like a whole complete season. It just feels like things happening. That's the first problem. Now, I do want to get into this. And this is about Terry Silver. Because Terry Silver is, let me say right now, he's one of my favorite villains of all time. If not my favorite villain of all time. And I loved him from season 4 and 5. Primarily. That was just absolutely amazing. Season 6, we didn't see too much of that. We get to episode 11. It is amazing. Him in episode 11 is phenomenal. One of his best performances. And that's what I've been wanting to see. From him saying right away, I always have the high ground. I just love that line. Like, I love that line. Might be Terry Silver's best line. Yeah, might be better than Wake Up and Smell the Coffee, Mr. LaRusso. It might be. It might be better than Extreme Shows Require Extreme Measures. I mean, I put both of those inside my intro and everything. But, dude, I always have the high ground. It's just such a cool thing because he literally does. He's always 2 steps ahead. And I just love that line. So that's just a little thing I want to put out there. And then another thing I like about this episode is Daniel not wanting to fight. Daniel seems very hesitant and he feels very just on pause mode. And I think this is a very reasonable reaction. I think it's tension that wasn't even that much tension. And I love that Daniel and Johnny, how they conversated this, because Johnny wants to fight. Daniel doesn't. How they reacted to that by maturely processing, going through that, everything like that, it was perfect. And that's how it should have been in season 6. Because before, when they disagreed the season, they would just start fighting each other, yelling at each other. It was just not normal. But now they start acting normal. This is why it's so hard to review this part. Because it does things that are good. Like, they're so good and I like. But they don't follow what they already did in this season. So it's so hard for me to review this. Like, what they do here is good. But it's not really good when it contradicts its own self. That's why it's so hard to review this. But I think the whole Daniel not wanting to do it, him kind of acting a little, traumatized by what happened, is, I think, a very nice arc they went down with him. And then one thing, dude, I really do still hate the pasting. The pasting is just awful. I really don't like how they jump from Korea, this really dark, gritty stuff of, Kim Da-eun literally killing her grandfather and all this dark stuff, and it goes right to, broad daylight, Johnny cracking jokes and all this stuff. And then it just cuts to these dark, grim stuff, and then goes to light, funny comedy way too quickly. And that just does not mesh well. It's just not pasted. And we see really no Tori this episode. We see no really any Robbie. It really just seems like the pacing just not there. And I want to make it very clear. I'm going to say this one time. There was not one line by Kenny the whole part. And that is ridiculous. I don't know why they even made this character if you don't have a conclusion to him. Okay, his arc ended in episode 10 when he flipped off Silver. Okay, so he's just going to be a background character. You can't have your main characters have their arc end before the show ends, and then they just start a background character like a dead body. That's the idea of Hawk, which we'll get to that later. No, if you end a character, you got to get that character out of the show. You can't just have him be a background character and just have it just be a putrid existence just sitting there. Like, what is that? I don't know. I just didn't like that. We really see any Devin, any Kenny. It's just the pacing just not there, and it's just not there. And then for the Kreese stuff, I thought the Kreese stuff was great. I thought it was amazing on how he's feeling regret and how he's feeling this sorrow. But I think, why now? Because all these emotions we're seeing on his face and these feelings he's having, especially when we get to later when he goes to Tori and Johnny, these were all things the place he's at is he was already there in season 5 in prison. He was having flashbacks. He was really apologizing to Johnny in the flashbacks. He was crying and breaking down. He went to help Tori. He put his own dojo in jeopardy for Tori's sake in season 4. He already went through these arcs. But season 6, you start the season and he just completely forgets that. He breaks Johnny's neck in a flashback. Or not a flashback, I mean like some sort of dream sequence. He barely cares about Tori, the whole psychotic guy, literally using her as just a soldier, as he admits. So I think, why now? Okay, Guan dies, that's true. That would push him, right? But why is he not? He was already there. What made him not be there? And why is he there now? See, this is why it's so frustrating for this part, because the stuff they do is right. It's good. It's just not. It's what they've fallen off. So it's hard for me, but the Kree stuff was good. I gotta talk about this. This is one part that I was really scared about. It was Terry Silver sick, because we knew that Terry Silver was gonna be sick. It was kind of already confirmed, and I was really worried about this. And I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this. I don't like him being just like a sick dude. I don't like it. I loved it, and I guess probably because more of Robert Dean Griffin's acting. But dude, oh my gosh, I really wish they went more into that, because they really only have like 2 scenes. And then he just freaking blows up, which we'll get to obviously later. But I loved it. It was amazing. The fact that Silver, he has nothing to fight for, and he needs this win. He just needs to be on top. That's all he can fight for. No family, no kids. And I think he was being genuine there. And even when we see him in the second attack, looking in the mirror, like almost about to cry, just looking at his own face, this puts so much more depth to his character that I love. And I really wish they went more into it. But I loved it. I thought it was great. And yeah, that's practically all I have for episode 11. I think this was a great introduction. It has a lot of stuff I love. And I think episode 11 and 12 are actually very good because that's really like the setup to the Second Attack guy, or more just diving into the characters a bit, kind of setting up their arcs. I love those 2 episodes. Obviously, there's some things I don't like, and the thing is, I love these individually, but when it's following off season 6, it just does not make sense. That's why there's just a lingering thing, like a big black hole that just it doesn't sit right with me. And you really can't have that for the last season. On to episode 12. And I'm going to start off with something that I did not like because, 2 things I didn't really like. I was going to get these out of the way. And this is just a thing that kind of been the whole season. I do not like how they made Chosen a complete joke. Like a complete loser joke. He's literally there for, cheap comedy. He's just like the clown you put out. This guy used to be a way more deep character. You go look at him in season 3, no wife, all these things. You could have dived more deep into that, and they partially do in season 5, but it's cut in between of him acting like a lunatic fool, like we saw him in part 2, where he's crying with the flowers, and it's just like, and even the stuff where he says where he's reading Komako's letter, they could have went more deep into that, but no, let's use it for more cheap humor. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I really wish they would have made a decision, because if they wanted to be a big comedy character, fine, do that. Make him a joke. But don't play both sides, because that frustrates me. What did Katy Perry say? Are you hot? Are you cold? Are you in or you out? Or yes or you no? I don't know. I think what I'm trying to say is, make him a serious character or make him a complete joke for humor. Don't do both, because that just does not work well. Alright? I like funny characters. I like serious characters. I don't like them together. Same way as I like ice cream and I like pickles. I don't like them together either. You guys understand what I'm saying here? You guys probably think I'm a lunatic. Alright. And then this whole Hawk and Dimitri thing, where they're just so nonchalant talking about the MIT thing, is this is their whole arc the whole season about how they hated each other for this. And now it's just a fart in the wind. They just don't care. I just don't get it how. This is why it frustrates me, because that right there should have how it been. It should have been oh yeah, you're going there. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. That's all it should have been. Why was it such a big deal for 10 episodes in the last season, but now it's not? This is why it's hard for me to review, because that right there is good. That's how it should have been. But you're following 10 episodes where it was clearly not that, and there's clearly strong emotions that they really never resolved, and it just kind of just there, lingering. Now they had a little binary bro thing in the second attack, but they don't really put that all aside. Alright, then I do want to talk about this. I do love the Johnny and Bobby stuff, where Johnny starts feeling, and look, I made a whole video about Johnny's arc was awful, and overall it still was awful for the most part. But his arc in part 3 is phenomenal. Because I think this part, especially the last episode, it really tells you straight to your face, this is Johnny's story. And they really showed it. And the whole stuff of him going to Bobby, with him, they even put a whole religious aspect to it too, which I thought was very interesting, that we never really saw Johnny. Going to Bobby, the whole thing about not being married, and all these things that they really dive deep into the Johnny character. It really shows more of the emotion in him, not just the raging lunatic that he was in season 6. And there's so much more of that in the season that I just love. I adore, honestly. So that's a big positive I have. Love that stuff. Now to things I don't love. This right here was so stupid. It was honestly laughable. What is this whole VR data game that they get? It's so over the top and corny. I literally thought I was watching Henry Danger. So you're telling me they have a machine, a VR game, where it's literally Axel. Where did they even get that full body picture of Axel? It's just so over the top. It feels like one of those. It feels like I'm watching Lab Rats. Lab Rats. I remember when the show was actually somewhat serious. I know Cobra Kai is not realistic, but you're doing stuff outside of its realistic frame. Cobra Kai still hold a somewhat realistic frame set, and when you go out of it, that's when I don't like it. You know, it's like someone saying, "Oh, if an elephant starts flying in Star Wars, you know, you can't judge it because Star Wars is not realistic in the first place." Well, yes, but in the Star Wars universe, elephants don't fly in space. Same way in this universe, two teams don't just have this crazy technology, which I don't think even a crazy scientist would have. It just doesn't make any sense to me, and I think it was just way over the top. I would say I like the concept that it built, that he's like a machine, and he's like basically like Drago in Rocky 4, and there's so much Rocky references. I love the Rocky references. I adore them. But, because Rocky is my favorite movie, you guys know that. It's just, that's way too over the top for me. I just did not like that. It was way too much. And then, yeah. And then the whole Sam and Tori stuff, I really liked their dialogue. I really loved everything, but I was really confused. Why didn't she just join Miyagi, though? Like, why does Sam not even oppose that? Like, she's like, oh, I can't put down that gi again. Just join Miyagi-Do. What's the big deal? Like, I don't understand, like, why Sam or Tori never even addresses that. Like, I don't get it. But, okay. And then this stuff, the Kim stuff. Why, and this is in episode 15, we'll get to that, where I'll say it now, because this is a whole thing I still don't understand. This whole Chosen and Kim relationship came out of absolutely nowhere. You're ending the Chosen character off for good, and you're ending him off as a farewell to a relationship that was really nothing. By the way, Kim Da-eun has one moment in episode 1. We don't see her for 4 episodes, and there she is in episode 5. Like I said, pacing's awful. Chosen, this is a relationship that was not built up at all. Not built up. These people do not know each other. Their whole ideology is completely opposite. And out of nowhere, they make up, and now that's how you end Chosen's character. He goes up with them. Like, that's how you end their character. Off a one-night stand off a girl that is evil, and you literally do not know at all, besides one night on a beach. What the frick? This relationship came out of nowhere. They are making out of nowhere, and now he's just gonna move to Korea with her. Like, it was so forced. It's not even funny. I don't know. And then yeah, no Silver, no Kreese this episode. It's just pacing's just not good. Also, they kind of cuck talk. Like, bro, they really cucked him. So you're telling me he makes a machine for Miguel and Robbie to take down Axel? What about him? Is he literally self-consciously admitting that I had no chance? That it's literally, yes, Miguel and Robbie, you're gonna do it. They turn him to a cuck. What happened to Hawk in season 3 when he was a badass? What happened to the All Valley champion, reigning All Valley champion? Now he's sitting there making these machines, doing these binary brother dances, and not even giving himself a chance. I just don't like it. But to conclude this episode, Carmen has her baby. Bobby comes in, they get married right there. I thought it was a really emotional, great scene. The music in the background, and Bobby's speech was just phenomenal. And I thought it was just a great ending, great moment. Love that stuff, and it really felt like all of them being there, like, that was the first time. By the way, I cried, I think, 3 times this part. That was the first time. It just was like, it felt like I've grown up with these characters, and there he is having a baby. It was just, it truly was amazing. It was a great scene. And then we get to episode 13, and I feel like this right here is the biggest problem, and maybe you guys felt the same. Episode 1 and 2 feels like part 3, and episode 3, 4, and 5 feel like part 4. It feels like there's a huge gap in the story characters. The Seikaitai feels so rushed. What was the point of Guan dying if you're just gonna go 2 episodes and they're just back in the Seikaitai and everything's back to normal? It literally feels like right where they left off. Literally right where you left off. It just feels so rushed, and it feels like they're just right back in there. You have 2 episodes. That's it. Like, I don't get it, but I know why they did it, because they wanted a dramatic ending. For promotion. I feel like this whole season is promotion. There isn't a real, fluent story. There's great moments. How could there not be? These characters are great. We love these characters. There's going to be great moments. Probably the best characters in the show. Probably the best fights in the show, which we'll get to later. But the story, the complete product, it's not there for me. I just simply cannot see it. And that, I just don't. But I will say, the setup to the Second Guy was awesome. They even had Ryan Clark in there, which I thought was really funny. He's a sports commentator. He little bit in the NFL. He's always hating on Aaron Rodgers for some reason. He's a kind of a jerk. But yeah, it was really cool. It really felt like you're watching like an ESPN project. I thought it was very fun, but like I said, it just feels like a whole new part. And the pacing I really adore movies and shows for their pacing. I know some people are gonna get mad at me, call me a hater, but I really don't think you guys just understand my appreciation for movies. And I'm not a judgment toward anyone. And I'm not saying if you don't agree with me, you're this, but I think you guys watch it more just for the fun moments. I really don't think you guys really, appreciate or understand, pacing, plot, story, arcs. Those are things that I really look for in movies. It's not everything. Sometimes you can just lay back and just watch a fun show or movie. But Cobra Kai has done so good with that in the 5 seasons that when you get to season 6, it's not just not good, it's putridly bad. It just bothers me. Especially since I grew to love these characters with a passion. And then we got to talk about Robbie versus Axel's fight. Once again, these characters just popped up back out of nowhere. It just feels so out of nowhere, like we're already back in this fight. It just feels like so rushed. But the Robbie and Axel fight was very good. It was very entertaining, very action-packed. But then Axel, he gets out. And this is going to be very controversial for a lot of characters. I mean, I just call it characters. Jeez, I'm watching too much movies. A lot of people. And I'm kind of split on this because it is sad how he goes out. That this is how we end his character. And the rest of the season, he's just a crippled dude walking around. He has a nice feral ending, but his real ending, the last time he's really fighting, we see him in the show, is getting hurt and never winning anything. And people are going to hate that. And at first I did. But then we get probably one of the best scenes in the show. And I don't mean the season, I mean the show. His dialogue with Johnny was not only written to perfection, it was acted to perfection. God himself could not come down and have acted that better. I think that was perfect. It was perfect how they did it. I mean, and it really shows you because there really is an art in losing, in failure. Daniel says himself in Rocky 1, he didn't win, but he went the distance. He had everything after the fight. That's what mattered. That's what matters to Robbie. I'm looking at the stuff I lost. What about what I gained? There truly is art in losing. And I've been saying this. If he loses, there's a loophole. He lost 3 times. But that's not him. He doesn't need that trophy to solidify who he is as a fighter. That's what I think was good. I really wish they would have put more emphasis on it. But that scene right there was phenomenal. So, I don't hate it as much as other people probably will. But I thought it was great. They're not something that I actually don't just dislike. I kind of hate. We get this whole dream sequence of Daniel, and all these Scalicans come out. And let me just say, Scalicans looked awful. It looks like Party City Scalicans. It doesn't look like the vintage 84. It just looks terrible. It was like one you give to you see like an 8-year-old on Halloween. I just didn't like how it looked. It looks so weird. And then Mr. Miyagi comes out. And I'm sorry, Cobra Kai. Can you guys please stop disrespecting Mr. Miyagi? Please. The man's dead and you're AI generating his face on a character. I like the dialogue. I like the meaning. And Ralph Macchio's acting in that of everything was phenomenal. He even started sounding like his younger self in The Karate Kid. It was really cool. But bro, you had this weird... I just look in the show and what the show was in season 1. Would I ever thought there'd be a Scalican dream sequence with Mr. Miyagi AI generated? What the frick? I just think it's disrespectful. And I can't even sit here and say good, bad. It's just disrespectful. That's all I have to say. And then on to something that I love, but it's also a bit frustrating. And like I said, this was done to perfection. I or anyone could not have made this better. It was the Kreese and Johnny stuff. That dialogue where he's talking to him and crying and oh my gosh. It might have been the best acting in the show. I can't put into words how amazing that was. And if I just forget what happened before, forget what happens after, I just appreciate that scene. It is phenomenal. And I can't put anything besides that. Phenomenal. The issue is the outside, not the inside. It just does not follow what we saw this season. These things, I think the creators knew they had to happen, but they did not think of how they had to get there. And that's the big issue. Because John Kreese and how he's feeling towards Johnny was exactly how he felt at the end of season 5. But now, we spent 10 episodes of him being a big villain again. And then now he's back to the place he already was at, that he never should have left, because that's where he was at. It just doesn't make sense. But, like I said, the scene was so good. And it was, when they hug each other, oh my gosh. Like I said, this part has some of the best moments in the show. 9 years a season, the show. That was phenomenal. But then we get to something that I'm still a little split on. And maybe you guys say what you guys think in the comments. But I'm a little split on. And it's Johnny reopening Cobra Kai. And let me just say this. First off, I don't really know how to make sense. Because it looks like in that scene, he goes, can you do me a favor? And it's like right after. I don't know how it's even physically possible. Maybe it's later, but the way they edited that was just not good. But beyond the point of that, it also doesn't make sense that a dojo gets eliminated or they back out and they can join another dojo in the same Sekai Taikai. That feels like tampering a little bit or something. It doesn't feel normal that you do a real tournament. But those are just nitpicks. The real issue I have with this, it just doesn't make sense. Why would Johnny want to go back to Cobra Kai? Why does he even want to redeem this name? Is it out of empathy for Kreese? Because clearly that was not how he was feeling at that moment. I don't understand. Oh, his Cobra Kai was good. That was a good Cobra Kai. Yeah, why was it good? Because of the name? No. The name is what tore it down. The strike first, strike hard, no mercy. That's why he left. It tore him apart as a man. It was good because of him and his students. That right there has nothing to do with a font, a name, especially a name a kid died under. A name that is terrible and ruined his life. That cannot be his legacy. And him redeeming it for what? What does he gain out of the redemption of Cobra Kai? Nothing. Why would he not just go to Eagle Fang? And look, I understand this, the flip side of it. It's like, it's almost like art. Cobra Kai never dies. It's the start of Cobra Kai, ends of Cobra Kai. You know, and the nostalgia of it. And I understand the nostalgia was amazing, and it really brought back a lot of memories, enough to shed a tear to my eye. But you can't sacrifice logic and reasonable character for visual nostalgia. It's cheap. It's just cheap story writing. You're story writing like a fantasy, like a fan fiction. You're not thinking about the character's mind and feelings. You wrote this character for 4 seasons, out of resentment towards this. Not one point in the season he ever felt going back. There was that one line with Stingray in the woods in episode 2. And that same, well, no, it's episode 1. And this very scene after, he goes to Daniel and says, "We are Miyagi-Do." So clearly, it did not bother him. And we saw no scenes of him ever like that, afflicting him or conflicting him for 14 episodes. I do not understand this at all. And it also just breaks up a whole entire thing. In part 2, you had them saying, "We are Miyagi-Do." They felt united under Miyagi-Do. But now they're all in Cobra Kai. And they're all on board. And it also just makes no sense either. Because like I said, this part does not feel like it's following the Cobra Kai. The whole show, there was controversy about the name and the honor and the legacy. This season, we spent a whole episode 1 of them fighting, of Chosen, Miyagi-Do's all I have left. Then he just wearing Cobra Kai. Daniel was so conflicted about Miyagi-Do. And Johnny. All this stuff, they really argued and they bitched about this for so long. And then you just give in to the name so he's like, it never mattered. You're right, it shouldn't have mattered. But you made it matter for 4 seasons. So what's the big change? That just got pulled out of thin air? This is the issue. It's so hard for me to review this because the stuff they do is good individually. But this is a show that's following 10 episodes of a last season. And an entire show that I love. and it's not following it at all. It feels like a whole new spin-off that does not feel like the actual show. It feels like a fever dream. I don't know. I just don't like it. It makes no sense. I understand there's a good side to it, but the bad outweighs the good for me in this scenario. And also, the villains are not set up at all. There's really, I mean, these new characters, Sensei Wolf and Axel, I like these characters, but you're really telling me the final villains of the entire legacy of Karate Kid and Cobra Kai are characters that we just got introduced in one season. The villain should have been Silver, but no, he just died and blows up in a boat, and it's not him. They don't even know he died. He's just gone. What? Kreese gets redeemed, which that's good, but there needs to be a villain. You could have even used Kim Da-eun. At least you brought her in season 5. You got characters as the final villain in the last that just got introduced episodes ago. That's the final villain, not just of a season, of the show, of the legacy, the franchise. I just don't like that. The villains are not set up at all. I like Axel. I like them. But it's just not... It's too soon to be the final villains of the show. But I will say, Johnny talking to, to Miguel in that same... right next outside of the Cobra Kai dojo. I mean, it was just a beautiful scene. And it was honestly, like, poetic. It was beautiful. Because you look back in the scene in season 1, they're sitting there, and he's there defending himself, explaining why he was in the right. Now it's the opposite. He's like, I was in the wrong. And you gotta fight for, like, what you've already have. It literally is just... that is actually an arc. That is a completion. That's a start, middle, you just close the book. That's beautiful. And that's what was missing a lot this season, and I'm so happy we saw it. And I'm so happy that they did that scene. It was a great scene. And they even played the Johnny Story, my favorite song, probably in the Cobra Kai, so it was amazing. And then we get to the fight, and Tori's fight was amazing. I mean, it was great. I love the action. I love the comeback. I love the Robbie saying, I love you, when she goes. I loved it, and her winning was so deserved. There's just one thing I wish they would have done. I really wish they would have really showed the importance of that win. Because Tori, when she won in season 4, she clearly did not mean nothing to her. She looked at that trophy. Season 4, there's a whole arc. I just want to look at that trophy knowing I won something. And season 5, we see her looking at the trophy. She feels nothing. Nothing. Because she doesn't feel like she earned it. She earned this one. And I really wish they would have went more depth, because she just wins it, she's cheering, and that's it. They don't really they don't expand further. I really wish they would have showed more of what they already started. That she earned that. I really wish they would have done that. And then look, one thing that infuriates me, Daniel just saying Cobra Kai never dies makes no sense. So Silver calls up to him, and he's obviously pissed about the whole thing, so he's just getting under his skin. Like, oh, your dojo remembered for nothing. Cobra Kai's gonna win. And he goes, yeah, you're right. Cobra Kai never dies. Where did this come out of? Like, I'm sorry. Daniel, like 2 episodes ago, 5, 6 episodes ago, 7 episodes ago, would have resented saying that. Resented even bothering that. And clearly, it's not that because Johnny was in there. Even when Johnny was in there, he didn't even like the whole Eagle Fang thing. He says, we need to be Miyagi-Do. It had nothing to do with even Cobra Kai in general. Bro, these are things that a man changes, and you just don't show it. And then they go more into it when he wears the Cobra Kai gi, which I'll get into that. Like, they just change the character off screen. You can't do that, especially to Daniel LaRusso. I just don't like it. And then Miguel's fight against Axel. And I'm not gonna understate this when I say this. This might be the best fight in the show. Yeah, better than the school fight, better than the season 5 fight, better than the season 3 fight. It might be the best fight in the show. Now look, maybe not as a finale, because this wasn't even the finale in general, but obviously the whole sequence of season 5 was probably the best. But an individual fight, there was not one better. They're showing flashbacks of his whole journey, his whole arc, and it even visualized it and how he's doing his moves. It was so beautiful. And I know I'm not the biggest fan of him being the Cobra Kai again, but you could have been any gi. That right there was beautiful, and everyone needs to appreciate that scene. And like I said, it's probably the best fight in the show. So there's nothing I can say about that besides absolutely praise that was amazing and beautiful. And look, it ending in a tie and it leading to a whole sensei fight, I feel like that's a little too over the top. I know it's Cobra Kai. What is too over the top? But it is a tie on exactly the number of a tie, and it happens to lead into a sensei fight. I mean, that isn't that pushing it a little bit? I know it's Cobra Kai, but I feel like, I don't know. I feel like that was just a little. I mean, it doesn't bother me too much. It still is a fun, quirky show. You know, you don't got to think too deep into that stuff. Just enjoy what you're looking at. But that was just something I was like, okay, that's a little much. And I also really don't like that they really don't empathize on Johnny being a dad. We barely see him and his baby and like him being a father at all. We see more in episode 15 a little bit. But in season 5, he was about to die. He looked at his baby picture and he got up and like they were about to kill him. He literally came back to life for his family. And we really don't see any scenes of them empathizing him being a dad. I thought it'd be a big arc for him. Like he would be talking to Daniel about being a father to a daughter. There's so many things he could have done they just didn't do. But I think it's a big step in his life that they just don't really put a lot of emphasis on, because when Robbie was born, he wasn't there for him. There's a kid he's there for. And they don't emphasize that at all. Which I thought was a little weird. And Daniel joining Cobra Kai and wearing the Cobra Kai gi is honestly gross. And you guys cannot tell me him wearing that gi is not just disgusting. I just do not like it. It makes no sense. I don't know why we have to get here. And look, and I'll get this later, I like the concept. I really do. It could have worked as an ending. The concept of, it's not about the dojos. It's not about the names. It's about us. I'll wear Cobra Kai. You wear Miyagi-Do. They can teach Cobra Kai. They can teach Miyagi-Do. These are great things. It just, you guys just leaped it to it. It wasn't an arc you followed upon in part 1 and 2. You just leaped to it like a leapfrog. Like, in part 1 and part 2, we have multiple episodes about them having their heads straight up their ass about dojo names. And now it's just okay. Like, I just don't know. In arcs, there needs to be stuff that changes you. Stuff gets done to you that changes you. They just don't show that. And it just feels like you're just skipping arcs. You cannot skip an arc. If you wanted to get him to that point, I would not have hated it. I still don't like him in a Cobra Kai gi. It still kind of just looks weird. But you could also make the case it looks weird for Johnny in a Miyagi-Do gi. But you had to spend more time. And they only had 5 episodes, and they're really rushing the finale. If you're rushing the last episodes of a show, that's how you know it should not have been the last. You should have ended it earlier. And then I gotta say it. Probably the worst. Well, the worst scene in the show, season, part, show, and franchise, and probably one of the worst scenes I've ever seen in cinema history. I mean, it's down there with Shield twerking. Okay, let me just. It was one of the. Okay, I don't know where to begin with this. And at episode 14, Silver on the boat. Dennis is there. Dennis goes. He gets his neck cut. He's dead. Silver cracks a bottle. Looks. Doesn't go there. He goes out there and John Kreese out there with a scar. Who the frick cut his neck? Who the frick killed Dennis? Was it Kreese? So he can just teleport now. They do not explain that. And then they talk, and then they're going to fight to the death. And when I say it was one of the worst fights I've ever, I was hoping for an awesome fight. It was awful. Dude, the stunt double, I know Martin Kove is old, but dude, the stunt double, you can clearly see, it's so filmed bad that you can see him go from gray hair to black hair. It was honestly laughable. You guys ever see that commercial where it's Michael Jackson's mom, where she goes to do it and it really turns to a whole new person? Honestly, that looked better. Michael Jordan, sorry. Dude, it was one of the worst filmed scenes ever. And then you get to it. Bro, I watched this leaked before the season. I'll admit that. And when I saw it, my mouth dropped. Gasoline, I'm gonna kill you. He throws a cigar. In slow motion, in the most corniest, cheesiest way ever, you killed the most 2 iconic characters and villains ever. No mercy. And they just blow up and die. What the frick? First off, what does that even mean, mercy? You literally just killed him. That makes no sense besides you're trying to get a cool scene. And it was so corny and so cheesy. And then the explosion was one of the most fakest CGI explosion ever. The whole scene was putrid, and they just blow up and die, and they never address it, and that's just the end of their characters. Dude, I could have wrote that better in crayons. Oh my gosh. One of the worst scenes in cinema history. Pathetic. Kreese's character's gone. Silver's character's gone. They die and they leave in the most pathetic way possible, and I'll never forgive the show for that. And then we get to episode 15, the last episode of the show, and I frankly loved it. First off, we get the flashback, and we get to, and this episode is really focused around Johnny, and we get You're the Best Around training montage, which was amazing. I thought it was awesome. We get more Rocky references that I love, and then we get the Johnny's fight, and it was amazing. I mean, what else can I say? It was beautiful. The references, Johnny, now he's a winner, from now a loser. And then the ending, it just felt a little lackluster. That's all I gotta say. It's him treating his students. They throw in a little joke about the reboot. And then it's them talking with the thing, and then it's over. It really feels like something was missing. Like, I was really hoping that we get a big finale fight. Now, Johnny's final fight was great, but I was hoping for a big final fight with all the students, all the senseis, like Season 3, like Season 5. Season 5 was perfect ending, a perfect final fight. All of them were fighting. We had the crane kick. Silver goes to jail. This was just an individual fight of Johnny. I wanted a full fight. We didn't get that. It didn't feel like an epic finale. It just felt like Johnny's story closing, which was great. And not perfect for an entire show. And then the show ends. And I don't know what to say, because I'm very mixed. Because there's some of the best moments, some of the best acting. But it's followed upon garbage crap. It's followed upon nothing. And a lot of the stuff they do is great is skipped to get there. Overall, this is by far the best part, but it had the worst moment in cinema history. And one of the best moments in cinema history. So it's really frustrating. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. And as far as the whole season, I don't know. It was awful. And I hate to see it. Season 5 should have been the last season. I'll make a full review about the season. And part 3, this is my review for part 3. 42 minutes been talking about this. It was a good season. A good part. For what it was. It was not a good finale. It was not a final season. I hate to say that, but I want to say this right now. Everyone, the show's over. It's a lot more bigger than just I like it or hate it. The show's over. I love this show. It's been a great ride. I can't wait to get into more content. I'm gonna be making videos about all Cobra Kai, and then I'll get to more content, more movies. And when this final thing played, it really hit me. So for the last time me talking about reviewing a season of Cobra Kai, always remember, extreme strategies are extreme measures. Peace out.